This passage is a slightly tricky passage. It is about cult. The author says that tries to describe the word cult, and he says that it's not in any way different from religion, whatever the size, the background of, or however outlandish the idea of the cult. It is similar to a religion, and it is a religion. It cannot, that is his definition of cult. Let's just read it. It will be a little difficult to read, but the questions, if you go back to the passage, will not be difficult to answer. Let's quickly try to process whatever we can from the passage. The historian Gordon Melton says that the word cult is meaningless. It merely assumes a normative framework that legitimizes some exertions of religious power, those associated with the mainstream organizations, while condemning others. So he says it's meaningless. A cult is only where one part of a religion, the mainstream religion, condemns another part of the same religion. Groups that have approved orthodox beliefs are considered legitimate. So you have certain beliefs in a religion, groups that follow that are considered legitimate, while groups whose interpretation of a sacred text differs from the established norms are delegitimized. Oh, you don't follow us, therefore you are not part of the religion. So he says, therefore, the word cult is meaningless. Such definitions also depend on who is doing the defining. So whether I consider you a part of the religion or I delegitimize you also depends on the person who is deciding whether you belong or not. Plenty of cults identified by anti-cult and counter-cult groups, particularly Christian counter-cult groups such as EMNR, are recognized elsewhere as legitimate religions. Those cults which are in one area called anti-cult, counter-cult groups and are not considered legitimate are recognized as legitimate in another area. Okay? Jehovah's Witnesses, the Church of Jesus Christ, Christ of Latter-day Saints, and even the Catholic Church have all come under fire alongside the Moonies or the People's Temple. So he's talking about how a cult, a group is delegitimized and not recognized as part of a religion, and in another area it is considered perfectly religious. Therefore, he says the term cult is meaningless. To deny a so-called cult legitimacy on the basis of its size, belief, or on atrocity tales alone is to play straight into the normative definitions of power. If you deny a cult legitimacy, if you deny that it's legitimate on the basis of its size or its belief, then you are actually playing into the hands of the dominant powerful groups. You are playing into the normative definitions of power. We label cults because they are easy pickings in a sense, even if their beliefs are no more outlandish in theory than reincarnation or the transubstantiation of the wafer in the Catholic Eucharist. So he says, why do you call a cult a cult? Because they're easy picking, they're easy to criticize. But their beliefs are no more outlandish or exotic or bizarre than some of the beliefs of mainstream religions. And he gives examples, right, where a wafer is used in the Catholic Eucharist as a substitute of what actually happened. Now, people may believe it, people may not believe it. So some people may find that bizarre. So he says, any belief, you believe in it becomes okay. Somebody else believes in it becomes outlandish. So every mainstream religion has outlandish beliefs. He's given an example that some beliefs followed by Catholics may be considered outlandish by somebody else. Correct? In a paper delivered at the Center for Study of New Religions in Pennsylvania in 1999, Melton said, we have reached a general consensus that new religions are genuine and valid religions. A few may be bad religions, some may be led by evil people, but they are religions. So what's he doing? Melton is not using the term cult. He's using the term new religions. He's saying that, look, New religions are valid, they are legitimate. Yes, they may be good, they may be bad, just as religions are, but they are still religions. Okay? To call a group, be it Scientology or the Moonies or the People's Church, a cult is to obscure the fact that to study it and understanding it properly. So, when you call a group a cult, you are actually in some ways obscuring or making uh, kind of not giving importance to the fact that to study and understand that group or cult properly, both sociologically and theologically, sociologically in terms of society and its norms, theologically in terms of religion and its rules, we must treat it like any other religion. Now, you're going to study it to find out if it's legitimate or not. To study it, sociologically or theologically, you have to treat it like a religion. To study it, understand it properly, both sociologically and theologically, you must treat it like any other religion. Therefore, he prefers the term new religious movements. His point underscores, emphasizes the fact that questions of legitimacy, authority, hierarchy, delineation between inner and outer circles as are as much the provenance of classical religious studies as of any analysis of cults. All these come a part of classical religious studies. All these are analyzed when you want to analyze a religion, you're going to use all this. In classical, when you're studying classical religions, you're going to use these. When you're studying cults, so-called cults, also you have to use this. So to analyze it, you have to use these parameters which you are using for a religion. Therefore, it is also a religion. So you should not call it a cult. Of course, the uncomfortable truth here is that even a true church, large, established, tradition claiming church, and cult aren't so far apart. He says that a religion, a proper church, a mainstream established organization, and a cult are not that different, at least when it comes to counting up red flags. The presence of a charismatic leader. What was John Calvin? And finally, he ends the question with, what was Jesus Christ? What was he? Religion accepts this as something, but in an analysis, he was a very charismatic leader. John Calvin was a charismatic leader. Right? So he gives an example that finally, cults and religions are similar in having certain uh, attributes, which he calls red flags. Having a charismatic leader is one of them. Which of the following statements is Melton least likely to support? Which one is he not going to agree with? That's what we are looking at. Cults are delegitimized after due analysis. Cults are genuine and valid religions. He says he will agree that they are genuine and valid religions. A bad cult can be considered a religion. He says cults are religions. Yes, they are good religions and they are bad religions. So, B also he will agree with. The term new religious movement is preferable to the word cult. Yes. Now, why wouldn't he agree with this? That cults are delegitimized after due analysis. No analysis happens, no? To analyze a cult, you have to study it like a religion. Therefore, it's like a religion. But it is delegitimized only because it doesn't conform to the mainstream religion or some of the beliefs of the mainstream religion. So it is delegitimized arbitrarily. When you subject a cult to analysis, you treat it like a religion. Only then you can subject it to analysis, the author says. Therefore, there is no due analysis happening with delegitimizing cults. Okay, so the answer is A.